Topping today's news, a young female charged with murder and attempted murder. Police say reports of an attempted child abduction at a local food store on Tuesday is not true. A former prison officer who shot his girlfriend last week gets bail, and results from the national high school exams remain a concern for educators. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Jareno Saunders. This is your JCN Evening News. It is a pleasure to have you join us. A 22-year-old female was arraigned in the magistrate's court this morning, charged in connection with that triple shooting that occurred on Rupert Dean Lane and Ferguson Street in Bainstown last Thursday. 25-year-old Dario Dawkins of Rupert Dean Lane was killed in that incident. Another 25-year-old male was shot multiple times to the upper body, and a 4-year-old boy was shot to the left leg. Police say sometime around 7:30 p.m., Dawkins, along with another adult male and the 4-year-old, they were on the front of a home when occupants of a silver Japanese vehicle exited and opened fire in their direction. Markella Dean of Market Street was charged with 1 count of murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. She was not required to enter a plea to the charges. Bail was denied. Dean returns to court on November 23rd, when she will be served with a voluntary bill of indictment that fast-tracks her case to the Supreme Court. Police have issued a stern warning as another false report was made on a very serious matter. For the second time in a week, police have noted that a reported attempted child abduction incident is in fact not as reported. On Wednesday, we reported the attempted abduction of a 2-year-old girl by a 50-year-old male in a local supermarket in southwest New Providence, which was reported to have taken place on Tuesday morning when a woman and her daughter were in the supermarket. However, police last night said that their investigations into the alleged attempted abduction of the 2-year-old girl was now complete, and it includes a review of surveillance footage from the immediate areas, and it confirmed that the incident is not as reported. Just last week, police noted that a false report was made into an alleged attempted abduction of a 12-year-old girl in the Coconut Grove area last Thursday. Again, police are advising that making false reports is an offense which can lead to prosecution. National exam results are now available, and the data is seemingly telling a familiar and concerning story. In this next report by Cale Campbell, we hear from the Ministry of Education, Technical and Vocational Training how they plan to address a long-standing matter which has been compounded by learning loss caused by the COVID-19 pandemic.
The 2023 national examination results for BJC and BGCSE have been released. In a press conference held by the Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training officials concerning the results, it was revealed that examinations showed the direct effects of the learning loss suffered by the COVID-19 pandemic, which was compounded by long-standing issues with the education system. This, according to Minister of Education and Technical and Vocational Training, Gladys Hanna-Martin, when it was pointed out that despite improvements in some areas, only 10% of Bahamian students who took the BGCSE exams received a C or higher in 5 subjects, while only 5% got a C or higher in critical subjects such as maths, English, and sciences. Minister Hanna-Martin suggests that it's a long-standing issue with our education system.
Yes, it is very concerning, and it would be interesting to see, and the statistician is here, what the performance has been in the last 10 years, 15 years. Only a percentage attained these BGCSEs. I mean, I don't know what the highest was at any point. Let's look at the report for the last 5 years, but we looked at GLAD for the last 10 years. They have, and that's the point I was seeking to make. We have had ongoing issues and signals about performance in our schools. What is different this time, I believe, is that we have determined to go to the fundamentals of learning at pre-primary, primary, the interventions at junior high, at senior high. So if you have a student in grade 10 and he did BJCs, didn't get it, or whatever the story is, we will do interventions with that student. If there are literacy issues, he might be special ed. We don't know.
As a reference point, in 2022, 12.9% of students that sat BGCSE exams received a C or above in 5 subjects, while 7.99% received a C or higher in English, maths, and a science subject. Minister Hannah Martin, acknowledging the long-standing problem, expanded on the solution.
And so what we are doing now is bringing a significant and specific eye to individual student performance. That's what the testing did. So it told us where every child is at every level in the public sector. We now know every sector, including we did pre-primary also. So what we seek to do now is to intervene. So where there's a learning loss issue, which is a phenomenon, then we will seek to close that gap. Sometimes the gaps are just historic passing through the system, and that's happened a lot in education. So we want to put a stop to that. We don't want a 17-year-old leaving school and saying, I can hardly read.
She also revealed that not every student is going to be academically inclined, but that is not a negative indictment on them.
Not every child in this is going to get BGCSE in physics, or we'd like them to at least get English and math, but not every child is what we might call academic in that way. I'm sure you were in that stream, but not every child. And so what we seek to do is to find the talents and strengths of that child to ensure that they are given the appropriate training and certifications so they can go out into the workplace and probably make plenty money, because they do. True. But that they're able to realize their potential and their gifts and their talents.
Data revealed by Acting Director of Education Dominique McCartney-Russell showed Baras Bahamian students taking exams at both levels of BJC and BGCSE are returning to pre-pandemic levels, with 39,954 candidates awarded BJC grades, an increase of 12.85% from last year. The number just falls short, however, of 2019, when 40,701 grades were awarded. With regards to BGCSE, the case is the same in that, though gradually the education system is returning to pre-COVID levels, with 18,716 candidates awarded grades, this is a 6.59% increase from 2022, when 17,559 candidates were awarded GCSEs. However, falls greatly short of 23,810 grades awarded in 2019. For JCN News, I'm Cale Campbell.
Thanks for that report, Cale. To accommodate the multitude of different learning styles by students, particularly in response to the question of girls performing better than boys based on this year's national examination results, Acting Director of Education Dominique McCartney-Russell revealed the Ministry of Education is looking into a reform of the education curriculum to suit different learning styles.
I'm a visual learner. I'm also a kinesthetic learner. But you have auditory learners, you have math smart children, you have children who are naturalists or who like music. And so we want to cater to our boys. And one of the ways that we're seeking to do that is to provide more experiential learning, where they get more authentic opportunities with real world examples. And so we are seeking to integrate arts in the curriculum, because it helps with cognitive development, but it also helps with students coming to school when they love what they do. And so that's why we're focusing on making education more experiential, providing meaning for our children.
Mrs. McCartney-Russell explained that teachers are currently being trained to cater to different learning styles and provide more experiential instruction that focus on theory and science, as well as giving students real-life experiences. The Acting Director of Education and the Minister of Education, Glenys Hannah Martin, speak about the pilot project,
where we are piloting the integration of arts in 2 schools, one primary, one junior high, to integrate into core subjects to see what the outcomes will be, the way the director described it. But that is underway as we speak. And how far along are we now?
Right now, we have them in 2 schools. They have already met with education officers, They've already met with principals. The consultant is now going to meet with teachers. And so once they would have identified those strategies, they're going to put them in place. So we're well on our way.
So come this month, I'm hoping, we'll roll this out, this pilot project, which is seeing how arts integrated in core subjects assists with learning with young people.
Minister Hannah Martin says a lot of adaptations have been made on a system of education that was inherited, but the ministry is approaching the curriculum with a fresh and new outlook using a study by the University of the Bahamas aimed at better understanding how the Bahamian children learn and what factors influence outcomes in our education system. As most children are back in the classroom, the Ministry of Social Services and Urban Development is continuing to ensure students are ready for the classroom on a daily basis. Minister of State for the Social Services Department says school assistance is a yearly commitment for the ministry.
As we always do, we prepared, persons were given uniform assistance, of course, that. And of course, I would speak to the urban renewal part of it every day, they in the schools, helping with the kids crossing the street, talking to the teachers and ensuring that they're safe. And they're usually there during the whole day. We have police officers too from Urban Renewal. And so our job is to ensure that the kids are going to school and that they're getting the proper care that they need in terms of supplies and books. We have everything that we have distributed to them. And so, yes, and we're looking forward for a fruitful, happy first year and back to school.
She asserts that the Department of Social Services will continue to assist until all students are equipped with the materials that they need. And finally, in this segment, on Saturday, August 12th, the Parliament was prorogued. And the move by Prime Minister Philip Davis came as a surprise to many, as the prorogation ended the current session of Parliament. In a statement, the Prime Minister explained that the government decided to prorogue Parliament and begin a new session in order to prioritize legislation which will address the high cost of living while strengthening the nation's economic and national security. Well, leader of the Bahamas Constitution Party, S. Ali McIntosh, says she is not buying it, and the Davis administration has been a failure.
No, I'm not buying that. As I said a little earlier, the PLP has failed the agenda for governance for the Bahamian people. The proroguing of the House is they're saying to organize. But really, based on all of the consultation and the advice I've gotten since that point, says that they're trying to create a new narrative. And the reason they're trying to create a new narrative is there are so many of the members of Parliament and leadership within the PLP is in trouble. We've seen that, and I could count the names or even call names of different situations that have not entirely come before the Parliament.
Ms. McIntosh went on to point out a number of circumstances where she believes government members of Parliament, including cabinet ministers, were found wanting. She is appalled by what she says appears to be attempts to sweep criminal matters under the rug by allegedly dragging out investigations. Ms. McIntosh used the incident involving Minister of Transport and Housing, Jobeth Kobe Davis, allegedly hitting a police officer with her car, and the incident into the investigation of Abaco Member of Parliament Kurt Cornish as proof to her claims.
The Bahamian people want to be inspired that their leadership is working on their behalf. And when you close a case because you don't want to acknowledge the evidence that is before you, when in the case of Mr. Kurt Cornish, the police wasn't prepared to pursue that case either. Thank God for the Director of Public Prosecutions who determined that based on the evidence before her, she will pursue the case. The PLP has failed the Bahamian people. It's a clear vision of what shouldn't be done in governance. And so their proroguing of the House is for them to reorganize, reshuffle, and find a new agenda. But the agenda that they were elected on, they failed that. And so the reshuffling may do nothing for the Bahamian people, may do nothing for the PLP, except that we're going to have to spend another 2.5 years on a lean-back government that is just there because they have not called an election.
According to Ms. McIntosh, instead of proroguing Parliament, the Prime Minister should have called for the House to be dissolved, calling for fresh elections so that Bahamians can have an opportunity to elect a government that works for the people and by the people. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back after these commercials.